Mayor Lucas was quite confident yesterday in his state of the city right here downtown Kansas City yesterday at high noon. 6:04, good morning. Great to be here on a Thursday on KCMO. And the mayor of Kansas City will join us in his usual Thursday 7:35 slot. But for a guy who is delivering his second to last ever State of the City, he sounded awfully confident. Now, he oftentimes can and does, and God bless him for that, makes him a good politician. But he sounded awfully confident when he talked about the Kansas City Royals and their future being right in downtown KCMO.
As part of our growth, our retention of the Kansas City Royals and the only home they've ever known, Kansas City, is a must. The Royals have shared their interest in being downtown, and we welcome them, bringing 81 nights of home game activation a year to downtown Kansas City. Hundreds more days and nights per year of events, conferences, tours, millions of visitors downtown, and forming a key part of the River Crown Plaza redevelopment efforts we have seen in Kansas City since the 1990s. Retaining franchises is not about sports. It's about economic development for our city. Retaining thousands of union jobs in Kansas City, enhancing activity in our urban center, and ensuring downtown Kansas City is forever a place that people, businesses, and visitors want to be and invest. We will get a deal done in 2026 that's fair and transparent for our taxpayers, our future, and our team. Successful cities must remain centers of activity, and Kansas City will continue its progress from the past generation to ensure that downtown continues to grow in business, in residential population, and in cultural amenities.
Mayor Lucas didn't say, we hope to get a deal done. We plan to get a deal done. Our intentions are to get a deal done. The mayor came flat out and said, we will get a deal done in 2026. Now, considering the city just lost the Chiefs less than 2 months ago, I'm not sure I would have that level of confidence until the ink was dry. But once again, that's politics. Mayor Lucas is a smart guy. I don't think he would be that confident in how he's describing we will get a deal done in 2026 unless he felt like that deal was basically done. Because you want to talk about something that can come back to bite him. I mean, he's had enough of that with the Chiefs that come back to bite him. You could have this, just my goodness, you talk about egg on that face. This is it right there. You do not want that with the way the Chiefs deal went down. So he's a smart guy in the sense that I don't believe he's going to say that unless he's very confident that in the next few weeks we have a deal to keep the Royals in Kansas City, and it seems like Washington Square Park is going to be that location. Nothing else right now is getting a lot of traction. Nothing else right now is making a whole lot of sense. Where else, if he says downtown Kansas City, where else are you going to go? You can't go back to the old location there in the Crossroads. That's done. You can't go to the East Village. It seems like no one's talked about that in forever. I guess you could go up to the Northland, but it does feel like that has fallen by the wayside, unfortunately. So what's left? Maybe you talk about 18th and Vine area and right by the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and you try to kind of bridge that gap between downtown and 18th and Vine. But once again, that's kind of been a pipe dream for a handful of people. You're probably looking at Washington Square Park. And then what do you do with Crown Center? That's the next billion-dollar question in Kansas City. Because the big issue has been what? Forever, since day one on Washington Square Park. What's the ingress, egress? Where are you parking? And how can the Royals make money? Because that was the whole point of moving the baseball stadium to begin with. How can they make money on things that are not baseball? Whether it's retail, whether it's apartments, whether it's commercial property, restaurants, bars, everything that they want to have around it, ancillary revenue streams. How are they doing that if they try to put that stadium next to Union Station at Washington Square Park? It's got to be some kind of redevelopment of Crown Center. That's the only thing that's making sense if that is the location that the Royals ultimately decide on. And by the way, when it comes to Kansas City and revenues and driving economic development, the Royals being downtown are a better bet for Kansas City, Missouri, and a better investment, air quotes. I'm going to put up my air quotes for Kansas City, Missouri, because obviously when you're playing that subsidy game, they like to bill it as an investment. Whether or not it is a real investment or a good investment always depends on the details. So it looks like things are trending downtown for Kansas City and the Royals and working together on that. And the mayor was very confident on that yesterday. Now, he talked about a lot. He spoke maybe a half hour or so yesterday in his State of the City. And obviously, the other thing that came up was crime. And the mayor was taking a victory lap on crime coming down around Kansas City.
Recent efforts to build a safer city have indeed yielded strong results. And the year just concluded, homicides fell by 5%. Non-fatal shootings fell by 31%, and robberies were down by 27%. The Kansas City Police Department hired its largest recruiting class since 2007. I don't even know what Councilman Willett was doing in 2007. And Chief Stacey Graves has built a robust cooperative relationship with the many stakeholders who will help us realize greater community safety. Like all of our local prosecutors, by the way, including Prosecutor Johnson.
What's with the shot at Nathan Willett there? It was tongue-in-cheek, but he goes, I don't even know what Nathan Willett was doing back in 2007. Now, what he's doing there is Nathan Willett's a councilman in the Northland who's a younger guy, is probably about 30. But what's Mayor Q? 42-ish, give or take? What is he, trying to play the old man card now? I don't even know what that kid was doing back in 07. It's like,
Mayor Q OG.
I mean, dude, it's not like he's 62. He's maybe 42. Jeez. I mean, when John ribs on me, I can take it. That's different. When Q's ribbing on Nathan Willett and they're like 10 years apart, I'm not sure that really works. I don't know what that was all about, man. That's something else. But neither here nor there. I think he went off script. He did his Trump there. He went off script, tried to take a little stab at Nathan Willett. But either way, he's given the data. Homicides down 5%, non-fatal shootings down 30%, robberies down 27%. Okay, I mean, that's definitely a trend in the right direction. And you know what? Considering when all is said and done, the facts are this mayor will oversee the deadliest stretch in Kansas City, Missouri history. I understand why he wants to try to find a win. But this issue will unfortunately be the biggest black eye of his tenure in Kansas City.
We'll put an asterisk on that stat, too, with no jail.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
He oversee that period of time, and nothing was done about a jail.
Nothing was done.
Slowly progress.
Yeah, I mean, really slow progress. It'll be done, years after he's gone.
Yeah, it's just that they want to build it in a floodplain, we've realized.
I know. So now we got to move it again.
Somewhere else.
Yes. So you sit here and you say to yourself, okay, it's great that things have trended down. Homicides down 5%, non-fatal shootings down 30%, robberies down 27%. That's great. However, it remains the issue that is going to be the biggest stain on the mayor's legacy because of things like no jail for over a decade now, because of things like the 2020 protests that led to the defund the police movement that this city council got way too political about, and frankly, set back policing for at least a decade in Kansas City. When it came to morale going down, early retirements, people saying, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not dealing with this nonsense. And people decided they weren't going to do it. And then you had a hard time recruiting. Now, last year was a good recruiting class. Mayor talked about that. But you know what? It's 1 year. It's not enough. You've been hemorrhaging officers for half a decade now. And yes, you've given the police department more money and more resources over the last few years, and that should be noted. That's fair. But it doesn't change the reality that these numbers, great, they've come down a little bit over the last year or so. I hope that trend continues this year. Other major American cities in red and blue states saw massive dips. We talked about this yesterday. Baltimore, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., their homicides are down 30+%. We're down 5%. What are they doing that we're not? Those are the questions that we need to be asking and not be doing too much, back padding for a 5% dip. That's what's got to be happening right now in Kansas City. And you know what? Yeah, Gene Peters Baker, former prosecutor, a major stain on crime in this community. It does seem like Melissa Johnson has a much better approach to this than Gene Peters Baker ever had. But you know what? As much as Mayor Lucas can't control the crime necessarily, the leadership, the rhetoric, the inability to use the bully pulpit against his prosecutor, who was just absolutely horrible, and I mean Gene, during his time in office, are going to be the big three regrets, the top three regrets, not the Chiefs. Those issues around crime should be the big regrets as we stare down the home stretch of his mayoral term, which is going to wrap up in about 16, 17 months, believe it or not. Coming up next on KCMO, there was another school walkout yesterday, and it didn't get any media attention around Kansas City. I don't really know why, but I'll try to figure it out with you next here on KCMO. Luke Doris is right, by the way. I just, this morning, 4 o'clock hour, I'm like, how long is this weather going to hang around? And, I mean, the 10-day forecast, we've got highs in the 50s and 60s. So when Luke says this fake spring is looking more real, sign me up. But you know what's coming, right? Big 12 tournament's going to drop a foot of snow on us like March 10th.
St. Patrick's Day, 32 flurries.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are all in the 70s.
I'm seeing 66, 68, 67. We're splitting hairs, but that's pretty good, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark's going to be breaking out forget his Royals hoodie. Mark's going to be in his Royals tank top showing up to work.
In shorts, of course.
In shorts. Man, I can get used to this in February. Sign me up, man. This is awesome.
It's actually a Royals promotion to promote spring training, which opened up yesterday. That's what this is all about.
I saw your boy Chris Bubich got himself a nice arbitration deal yesterday, $6.1 million. The Royals offered $5 and change, and he got an extra $1 out of them. So good job by him. Well deserved. Now, yesterday in Johnson County, Kansas, Shawnee Mission North, students participated in a walkout against ICE. But can I ask a question here? If you're like the 12th school to do the walkout, are you really taking a stand? Why did Shawnee Mission North wait weeks after everybody else to do their walkout against ICE at Shawnee Mission North? Why? Or was this like the day they were going to do midterms or something like that? What did they have going on yesterday on February 11th at Shawnee Mission North that made them say, you know what? That's the day. It's the 11th.
Everybody out.
Yep, that's it. We couldn't do it on January 11th or January 18th or the 25th. No, it's February 11th. We're going to be the last ones. We're the cleanup hitters here at Shawnee Mission North.
Used to be that coffee shop right across the street from the school. I wonder if they were closed. Maybe they opened up yesterday.
Yeah, that might be the case, John. You're right about that. We'll have to check in.
With a closed coffee shop.
Yeah. Right by the old station stomping grounds there on Johnson Drive. I've not been by Shawnee Mission North in a while since we don't work up there anymore. But
the classic-looking McDonald's is over there.
Oh, is it?
The old school McDonald's.
The old school McDonald's. Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks like the coffee shop's still there. So I don't know if they had to work around the coffee shop hours or what the deal was. But you had hundreds walking down Johnson Drive yesterday, holding handmade signs, protesting ICE. So it's nothing new. Like we saw this last week, Olathe West and Olathe North came together, did a little protest down at Olathe City Hall. But what fascinated me is that I didn't see any local TV stations pick it up last night. They were all down at Olathe City Hall last week for their walkout. And you had, it looked like, I don't know, 150 to 200 students. I'm just looking here because they were in the middle of the road on Johnson Drive marching along. And I would have thought that there would have been more local media coverage around this. And there wasn't. The Kansas City Star had it as its headline piece at one point yesterday afternoon because, well, of course, right?
Talk about a bombshell.
I mean, yeah, the Star loved it. I think they're going to give out awards to all these kids for, acts of heroism or something.
You mentioned it. One of the TV stations is within walking distance of the high school.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah. And KCTV5 could be right there in 2 seconds. So I was just surprised. I do wonder. Now, yesterday was kind of a busy news day. We had the mayor's state of the city and comments on the Royals and crime and everything else. But it wasn't like insane. I figured there would have been time to have a reporter, some Cub reporter down there covering this. Get a couple quotes from the kids being like, yeah, rah, rah, don't like ice. Like, we get and we have gotten over the last few weeks. Shawnee Mission North, obviously a prominent school. So then I keep coming back to this. Is it possible that there is a push from those in education with what's going on in Olathe right now? I know it's a different district, but Olathe got a lot of attention over the last 36 hours because they want to move forward with a $389 million bond project to do upgrades to schools and consolidations and things like that. And it's gotten quite a bit of blowback, more than I would have thought over the last 36 hours or so, as Olathe gets set for this March 3rd mail-in ballot vote to approve $389 million in bonds. And at a time when people are starting to, it seems like, wake up a little bit, smell the roses, and be like, is this really what we want to do with $400 million? Is this in the best interests of Olathe residents and taxpayers, and yes, students, to spend this kind of money on a project of this size and scope? Considering proficiency numbers are down in Olathe, as they are across much of the state of Kansas, the cost continues to go up. We're up to about $19,000 per pupil in Kansas in the education system. And still, we're being asked for $400 million to improve and build new schools. I can't help but wonder if it's kind of a push from somewhere inside the system to say, hey, take it easy on the protests, because I'm telling you right now, or take it easy on the coverage of the protests, because I'm telling you right now, this does not bode well when people see headlines like this, and then a couple of weeks later, it's like, hey, by the way, could we have $400 million? For what? The kids are walking out of the classroom. They can barely read and write. They're out there protesting in the middle of the day. What do you need $400 million for exactly here? Although you could build some really nice signs for $400 million. I mean, you could have gold-plated signs at $400 million.
Yeah.
That could be built into the infrastructure part of the plan on the schools. Hey, we got $5 million left over. What are we doing? Let's buy some gold. What is it, $5,000 an ounce these days? We could have gold-plated protesting signs against ICE next time the kids go outside. That would be nice. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. So it did not get a ton of attention. I didn't see any crazy signs yesterday. Well, I did see crazy signs. I didn't see any signs that had misspellings on them. I was always, interested in those, seeing people misspell words on their signs. I didn't see any of that. But I did see some of these signs here. One yesterday from a student. Now, this student and this sign, she was driving down the road. You can't drive in the protest. Come on, you got to get your steps in at least. You got to earn that Starbucks coffee here. Come on now. Can't be sitting in the car holding the sign. This young lady with a sign that says, I heart my country. I'm ashamed of my government. She writes here. By the way, I actually think that that's a pretty bipartisan sentiment there. I would say that's actually fairly, just in general, like most people are just kind of ashamed of government in general. So I'm not sure that was the cell phone that she thought it was, but neither here nor there. That's what was at Shawnee Mission North.
Student council.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
They still can't chew gum.
You still can't chew gum. Coming up, the most underreported details from yesterday's jobs report we have to share with you next. Listen, there's still a lot of work to do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's all roses and everything's great and, oh my gosh, you should worship at the altar of President Trump because, man, things have never been better. It's the golden age, as some might say. There's work to do. But 13 months in, there are trends that you cannot deny. There are data points that you cannot deny. And there are a lot of them coming out of yesterday's jobs report that dropped in the morning during the show. We had the headline story for you here that in January, the jobs number came in 130,000 for January. That was nearly double the expectations of 68,000 jobs that were anticipated to be created. So do you guys want the good or the not so good first? Give me something that you want. You make the call in there.
I like the not so good first.
Okay, you want the not so good. Okay, John's getting predictable with wanting the not so good first. That's fine. Then we'll steamroll the back end with all the good stuff. So if you want the not so good, all right, the not so good is that the change in total non-farm employment for last year was revised from up 584,000 to only up 181,000. That is in the Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs numbers. So there was a massive downward revision in 2025 that was in yesterday's jobs report. So not a great thing. Now remember, why might some of that be happening? You have had 300,000 federal jobs disappear over the last few months alone. That's a good thing. The government was getting way too bloated. We would talk about this every month over the last 4 years when the jobs numbers would come out because people would always focus on the headline number, and that's all well and good. But really, the devil's always in the details. Where were the jobs coming from? And every single month, more or less, you had the government being one of the three biggest employers with adding new jobs. That was not a sustainable model. Even if you like big government, right? Even if you're someone who this morning is listening and you're like, man, I want a bigger government. I love big government. Spend, baby, spend. You got to admit, eventually you run out of other people's money. It was not a sustainable way to grow a government. Unless you want to end up like Cuba or Russia or China. You just could not grow the government at the pace that it was being grown, faster than the private sector, because who funds the government? The private sector. So that has been now leveling out and coming down over the last few months. So that will impact the 2025 number, and that is in part what resulted in the downward revision. So that was not a great look inside of that Bureau of Labor Statistics report. All right? You also have a lot of the jobs concentrated in a handful of sectors. Healthcare continues to explode. There's just, you can't deny the fact that you continue to see massive gains in the healthcare space. And, you want to talk about, and we've talked about this, obviously, going back to the Affordable Care Act and how unaffordable it's become and how what it's really done is allow the healthcare sector to explode, get more expensive, and grow in a completely unsustainable way as well. So that also, the concentration of job growth in a smaller group of sectors is also mildly concerning. But there's a lot of good in here as well that needs to be highlighted and talked about. And the biggest thing that should be highlighted and talked about is something Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said yesterday.
This is what we've been setting the table for all of 2025. I've said that repeatedly. We put the necessary ingredients, policies into place, and now they're starting to pay off. And what's more impressive here is the number that you just gave is the total jobs. There were more than 170,000 private sector jobs, and there was about a 40,000 decrease in government jobs. So as I've been saying since this administration came into office, we are reprivatizing the economy.
Reprivatizing the economy. That's exactly right. The other thing that needs to be noted, and once again, this is not going to fix the problems that we have here in Kansas City or around the country tomorrow, but when you talk about adjusting for inflation, the average American's weekly paycheck, it has now surged about 2% during this administration's first year back in office. Meaning the gains that people are seeing in their wages is outpacing inflation. Under Joe Biden's 4 years in office, you saw a shrinkage of 4%, when you look at the average American's weekly paycheck adjusted for inflation. Basically, how much more are you making on your paycheck versus what you're losing in inflation? You lost about 4% during Joe Biden's 4 years in office. Right now, and this data is clear, I'm looking at it right here from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It is up 2%, and I will share it on X at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. You are up about 2% through the first 13 months. It doesn't mean there still isn't pain. It doesn't mean that you should sit there and say, you know what, you're right, Pete. I'm driving to work. I got my coffee. Everything's great. Couldn't be better. No, there's still work to do. But there are real wins happening underlying this economy in ways that we just haven't seen in the last few years. And some people thought couldn't happen. So that is fantastic news coming out of yesterday's jobs report, and something that I don't think is going to get enough headlines. I mean, it's amazing. I don't see any local media here in Kansas City even doing local spinoffs. Go do a man-on-the-street interview, right? I don't know. Go to 95th and Metcalf. Go to downtown Lee Summit. Go up to the town square in Liberty and just ask people, how you feeling? Hey, jobs report came out. What are you guys thinking? Small business, big business. Just do it. I'd be fascinated by this because I could take calls on it all morning and get your feedback. But with TV, that's the one thing that they can do. They can package that thing into like 2 minutes and make it sound good and get perspectives across the board. But no one did anything like that yesterday in this town, and that also surprised me. So I don't know what they were doing yesterday. Was yesterday a holiday I'm not aware of? It seemed like they missed some pretty big stories, but I guess that's nothing new. That's why we got to carry the load here on KCMO. That's what we got to do. Well, last night I woke up to this morning. Man, did you see Jerome Tang, the head coach of the Kansas State basketball team? They got obliterated by Cincinnati last night. And I turned the game off at halftime. I'm like, why am I watching this? This is horrible basketball.
Yeah, I saw they were down big, and I'm like, I don't need to watch this.
No, there's nothing to watch. Jerome Tang's team is now 1-9 in Big 12 play. They're terrible. They're getting blown out of the building. They had students last night in Manhattan, Kansas, wearing paper bags on their heads. They were doing the old paper bag trick. Did you ever do that at Arrowhead back in the 70s, John, or 80s, or did you skip on the paper bag?
Did not do the paper bag
Okay,
thing.
all right.
I think New Orleans kind of had the corner on that back in the day.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, they were doing it in Manhattan last night. And after Kansas State got destroyed by Cincinnati by 30 points, the head coach, Jerome Tang, who's got an $18 million buyout, so you can't fire the guy, said this.
Hey, I'm gonna honor Christ like I always do. Blessed to do this, but this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. You know, it is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer, no words. So y'all got two questions. So whoever want to ask two questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability right now. But right now, like I'm like pissed, and this is all right.
Jerome Tang, K-State basketball coach, last night after they dropped to 1-10 in Big 12 play and lose by 29 points to Cincinnati at home. Well, if Jerome Tang and his staff gets blown out, the unemployment rate's going to tick up next month, so that'll impact the jobs report. But then again, he'll have $18 million in buyout money to spend. Jerome Tang will be goosing the economy by himself here in Kansas, right? My goodness.
I find it interesting in this day and age when the coach thinks that some of the players won't be there next year.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly right. I mean, he's got he said practice is at 6 a.m., so Jerome Tang's at practice right now with the guys. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see how that practice is going And by the way, did they all make it? Did Jerome Tang make it to practice, or did he get fired before the practice took place this morning? The problem is, who at K-State wants to fork over $18 million to a basketball coach to not coach? You might as well make the guy work for his misery. Why not? See if you can turn it around at this point. But it is just a horrible scene right now in Manhattan, especially when you compare it to what took place in Lawrence on Monday night. KU beating number 1 Arizona without Darren Peterson. And you think about the coaching job that Bill Self did in that game without his star freshman, and you compare it to what Jerome Tang's done so far at K-State this season. My gosh, that Elite Eight run, what was that, 3 years ago now? That feels like another lifetime ago with Marquise Noel and those guys. That is just, boy, what a fall from grace. But you can't fire them. You just can't. $18 million for a basketball coach to go away? You can't do it. It's being dubbed the Save America Act, and it's legislation that's aimed at keeping non-citizens from voting in U.S. federal elections. And yesterday, it passed the House 218 to 213. So how about that? 7:04, good morning. Thanks for joining us on a Thursday here on KCMO. There was one Democrat who joined the Republicans to vote in favor of this bill. And no, it was not Emmanuel Cleaver.
You mustard moo.
And no, it was not Sharice Davids on the Kansas side of the state line, who, of course, likes to brand herself as very much middle of the road. I guess she's not middle of the road enough to vote for a bill that would prevent non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. So much for middle of the road for Sharice Davids. If she goes and runs for U.S. Senate, Roger Marshall, he may have a tougher race on his hands than he wants to have, but all he's got to do is highlight the fact that she is not in favor of a bill that would prevent non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. I think that's like literally the number one thing that Roger Marshall has to highlight if he does end up running against Sharice Davids in a U.S. Senate race this year. I mean, that is a 80-20 issue easily in the state of Kansas. So it passed yesterday. Now, this also passed the House in April of 25, but was never taken up in the Senate. Can this one end up getting any kind of real Senate push? It remains to be seen how exactly that's going to work. But yesterday, Mike Johnson did note that there might be some changes to how they go about their business on the Senate side. Now, he's, of course, the Speaker of the House, but he was talking about the Senate side and saying, hey, I think we're going to make it tougher for these guys to filibuster this thing.
I stay in close contact with Leader Thune, and we met yesterday, actually, and talked about this. I told him that it would be coming over. We were certain to pass it, and we would send it, and hopefully we'd get a few Democrats. We got one, okay? So it's a bipartisan bill. It's going to the Senate, and I think Leader Thune is committed. I mean, I know he is to getting this to the floor, but we want to get it not just to the floor, but to the president's desk. We need to get this signed into law. It's really important for all the reasons stated here. We have a custom between us. He doesn't tell me how to run the House. I don't tell him how to run the Senate. But I trust that he is committed to it, and they're trying to figure out the right path. And I think talking filibuster is part of that discussion, and we'll see how it shakes out. So I would hope that there'd be some sensible Democrats there that would recognize, as one did here tonight, that this is a good policy and a good thing, and it's right. It shouldn't be a partisan issue.
Okay, he's right. It shouldn't be. And by the way, there's polling that suggests it's not a partisan issue at all. So this thing passed yesterday, but of course there were conversations on the House floor from people arguing against it. And one of the stranger arguments I saw being made came from Catherine Clark. She's a Democrat out of Massachusetts. She had claimed that this bill will make it more difficult for women to vote. You can't make this stuff up. She said here, and I'm reading this quote, Republicans are not worried about non-citizens voting. They're afraid of actual American citizens voting. Why? Because they're losing among women. She says here that it would be more difficult for married women to cast ballots if their surname is different from their maiden name on their birth certificate. Oh, my gosh. You can't.
A man and a woman.
Thank you, Reverend Cleaver. Thank you very much.
I think they came up with a remedy for that solution about 70 years ago.
Yeah, I think they did. Boy, you really got to twist yourself in the quite a pretzel to come to the conclusion that this is really about preventing married women from voting if their surname is different from their maiden name on their birth certificate. What are we doing? I mean, listen, I've only been married once, okay? And my plan is to keep it that way. If I'm married more than once, it won't be because of me, okay? I'm obsessed with my wife. That being said, having only experienced it once, and it's been about 11, 12 years now, I'm pretty sure that when you switch the ID after you get married, it's a fairly simple process. You take care of it like, people have been doing for hundreds of years now, at least decades at this point, and you go take care of your business, and then boom, you got a new ID. Okay? You have to do it to get on the airplane. You got to do it to show proof of entry to certain buildings. You have to do it. To suggest that this is somehow about married women not voting, man, they are just reaching here.
You know what you can do as a married woman? Not take your husband's name.
Well, there you go.
That's what my wife did. She's number 2.
There you go.
We get married in our 50s. There's too much crap to deal with. You've got a lot more, personal things. When you're 18, 19, 20, it's worth the deal. There's not a lot to change. She's got assets, all kinds of things, right?
Yes.
It's a PIA to change it, to the Congresswoman's point.
Yes.
However, you don't have to change
That's an excellent point. You don't have to even do it. And wouldn't that be girl power to go out there and not change the name too?
It, you know?
I mean, let them do their thing.
We talked about it. I'm like, yeah, geez, that's too much paperwork. Just keep your name.
You didn't take her name, though, right? I wouldn't want to see you go down that road.
I've seen Soy Boys do that.
I'm telling you.
I do have a login on Hulu or something with her last name just because it was easier.
I'm telling you, man, that's going to gain some traction. We are going to have a segment on that at some point in the next few years of dudes taking girls' names. I guarantee you it's coming. But I'm glad to hear that's not the case, John. That might be not good for your employment around here. I might have to, let you go. But, this is not about women not voting. The Save America Act is just about making sure that the people who are voting in federal elections have a photo ID, which is wildly popular.
How about both parties stepping up to the mic and saying, this voter thing? How about the rest of the 60% of y'all show up on Election Day?
Well, that's a great point, too.
We're worried about who and when. Let's get more people there.
Yes. And if you think that this issue breaks down along racial or political lines, it really doesn't.
No.
This is Henry Enton on CNN yesterday.
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
All right. Henry Enton, CNN. He does a good job. I didn't need the Nicki Minaj reference there. Nobody cares about Nicki Minaj.
Well, I think that suggests how low the bar may be, though.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That's true. 76.
If she gets it, I mean, come on.
Yeah, 76% of black Americans, 82% of Latino Americans, 85% of white Americans. I mean, there are very few issues in this country that are 80-20. This is one of them. And there was only one Democrat in the House yesterday to vote for the Save America Act. It's not intended to be hyper-partisan. It's really not. So now this thing goes to the Senate. They've got to get 60 votes to get this thing to pass in the Senate. The Republicans have, 52, 53 right now? It's highly unlikely to happen and get through the Senate. Highly unlikely. But if it were to be implemented, the bill could see new requirements imposed on voters in this year's November midterm elections. And ask yourself why, despite the polling showing it's wildly popular, why would one political party not want this? Like, I'm not even one of these guys that goes around screaming about stolen this, stolen that. That's not my thing. I think a lot of that has just been excuse making by and large. But what other conclusion in this specific case can you come to when you got an 80-20 issue, but one of your two major political parties is dead set against it? What other conclusion is there? And don't tell me it's about married women not being able to vote because the ID is different from the birth certificate or something like that. Like, stop. Just take a step back, have a little bit of common sense, and ask yourself why that might be and what conclusion the rest of us should come to as to why you'd be against it. Outside of the obvious, do you want non-citizens voting? Do you not care if non-citizens vote? Do you do a little wink, wink, nod, nod? Because if you insist it doesn't happen and you insist that's not your motivation, then find me the other reason for your motivation. It's very hard to find. It's 7:14. The mayor of Kansas City, Quinton Lucas, is here in 20 minutes after his State of the City yesterday. Second to last one he's ever going to give. How about that? As he is now, of course, in his final 16 months as a lame duck mayor in Kansas City. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO. And all Roger Marshall has to do, by the way, if he does end up running against Sharice Davids in the Kansas Senate race, is bring up this issue. That's it. That's all he's got to do. 913-408-7957. The mayor is coming up in less than 20 minutes right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So now we know forensic teams are searching the side of the road near Nancy Guthrie's home. That's what we know right now. The search is on. Did you see there was video that surfaced and went viral yesterday afternoon? And I shared it on social media because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was these group of FBI agents searching Nancy Guthrie's yard. And they're like just kind of wandering around the yard and, you know, looks like they're out for a stroll and trying to pick a place to do a picnic or something like that. It was a horrible look. It's kind of how I imagine I look when I'm looking for a golf ball that I really don't want to find. I'm like, I just want to take a drop anyway. I don't want to play this ball. I don't want to find this ball. I don't care about losing the $2 on the ball right now. I just want to move on with this hole and get it over with. Kind of like you wander around and you're like, well, if I stumble upon the golf ball, I guess I'll play it. But I really don't want to play it. I just want to drop in the rough and move on and take my next shot and take a stroke. I mean, it was like just people kind of walking around. It was like a bunch of average Joes just kind of wandering through the desert alongside Nancy Guthrie's house. I'm like, how is this real right now? They're on day 11 of this search. And was this the first time they were searching the yard, or was like the FBI just deciding they were going to do this on day 11? Everything about this thing stinks. From the arrest of the random Latino FedEx driver guy who's like, yeah, they said it looked like the guy in the mask. Why? Because of his skin color and bushy eyebrows? Like, nothing about the guy resembled the guy in the mask to me. So that was a terrible look yesterday morning when we got on the air. And now you've just got more bizarre things happening in this case, including the FBI deciding, I guess we should search the yard around Nancy Guthrie's house. Wow, way to go, guys. Nice job.
Maybe somebody just lost their Chipotle card.
Well, speaking of...
almost like that, right?
Yes.
I had my card around here.
Speaking of food, did you see this also in the last couple of days? So they finally decided to kind of treat Nancy Guthrie's house as a crime scene, right? They finally, like, taped it off. But I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago because the story's just kind of... I know it's 12 days in, but these days are starting to kind of just mold together. There was a pizza delivery guy who showed up, and he starts walking down Nancy Guthrie's driveway. Like, media can't get in, only the FBI, and this random guy's, like, rolling down Nancy Guthrie's driveway with a pizza. He's like, I'm just here to deliver a pizza. Like, I don't think he knew where he was or what the commotion was all about. He was just, and I don't know how he got through the tape either. It was this, and I think it was there for someone in the media. Someone in the media ordered pizza, and I mean, somehow the pizza guy's in the driveway. Like, what kind of crime scene is this that you're operating here, guys? You got a Pizza Hut boy with his, double pepperoni walking around looking for somebody.
I saw Pima County tweeted out Do not order food to the crime scene to the media.
Yeah,
Jeff Spicoli is Spicoli ordering pizza.
It was such this thing has been like an SNL skit or like an episode of South Park. Maybe, might not be raunchy enough for South Park, but either way, it has been handled so terribly. And I know we all want this to be like a Law and Order episode or a Forensic Files where it's over in 30 minutes. But it does make you realize how poorly some of these agencies handle these things. And I'm not here to knock law enforcement, but I'm sorry, there's no other conclusion to come to right now based on how this investigation is being handled. And it goes to show you it's not about like a red state versus a blue state or a blue county or a red county or, feds versus locals. I don't know, and I can't tell who's doing a good job right now. I really can. So now I'm looking at video of these guys just aimlessly walking around still in random desert around her house. I mean, there's no equipment for that. We put a man on the moon 60 years ago, and we're still using guys just wandering around the desert looking for stuff. Unbelievable.
Well, I know why they do it in Amber Alerts, but we don't want this to end with, Nancy was found safe.
Yeah.
No, there's more questions.
No, not at all. Man, that's just unbelievable. And all we get to, and this is, listen, I can't imagine what Savannah Guthrie is going through right now and her family. I will say, if there's something that I believe it's fair to call Savannah Guthrie out for, it's that we're still sitting here with the FBI tip line on every television in America with a $50,000 reward. Where is Savannah Guthrie to say, I got $1 million right now with a good lead? Where is she? I've often heard people say, money can't buy you happiness. And that's true. I believe that to be true. But it can buy you access. It can buy you things that people with money can't otherwise buy. And if you're Savannah Guthrie and you can put a $500,000 reward out there, or whatever it is, $1 million reward out there right now to help find your mother, I'm just saying, I'd be doing it instead of like $50,000. I mean, we got $25,000 rewards for people in Kansas City who nobody knows. Sorry, Michelle Obama. 3 words that some of you probably don't want to hear, but let's be honest. There are 3 words that if you are a proponent and a fan of the Make America Healthy Again movement, you have to be willing to say. So I just saw this clip from this morning on Fox, and it's from Brooke Rollins. And Brooke Rollins is someone who has really been advocating and lobbying for the Make America Healthy Again cause. And she's the ag secretary. So, if you're a farmer in Kansas or Missouri as well, I mean, you should care what Brooke Rollins has to say about ag issues, but also food issues. So she was just on Fox News here in the last hour or so, and she talked about a major move to purge public school lunches of low-quality food. Here's what Brooke Rollins had to say about that this morning.
We are moving out into the country, of course, for us at USDA, working with the schools, the school lunches, completely changing the way that we do food stamps in America. I don't know that you and I have talked about it, but right now we've already approved 18 states that the people that are using food stamps or the SNAP program cannot use those to purchase sodas, junk food, et cetera, which before it's kind of crazy that they could. Of course, the back end on the health care on that is just a double whammy to the taxpayers. So we're completely recalibrating the way we do food stamps, again, to ensure we're getting that healthy food out, but also school lunches. School lunches are next. A lot of our schools don't even have an oven anymore. Back when I was growing up, the lunch ladies were back there cooking the meals on the stoves and then serving it. There's not even ovens or stoves in most of our schools these days. So how do we completely and fundamentally change the system to go back to where we're serving that healthy, whole food and nutrients to these kiddos?
Okay, well, remember, you go back to Michelle Obama, who had a school lunch initiative. That was part of her Let's Move campaign going back 15 years ago. And it was a policy that wanted to increase fruits and vegetables and whole grains and, make those school lunches a little bit healthier. And because everything is stupid in politics, there was this like, you're not touching my school lunch. All right. Don't you even think about telling me or my kid what he or she is going to eat. That's back when we still had two genders. We're not going to do that. No way, no how. And now here we are, about 15 years later, being like, yeah, you know what our kids eat during oftentimes what is, I believe, way too long of a school day matters. It matters for not just their physical well-being. It's not about like an 8-year-old getting chubby because, you know, he's eating too much mac and cheese or something. It's about what is in the food, the ingredients, the oils, the seed oils, all these different things that are in the foods now that's easy to make. And what does it do to the kids, not just physically in terms of how they look, but also mentally? What does it do to their emotional well-being when you're jacking these kids up on all this junk that oftentimes, you know, served at school lunches around the country, including here in the Kansas City area, and also what you can just buy at the grocery store? Now, you know, what you want to buy for your child at the grocery store is obviously your business, but should our government be feeding kids in these public schools the absolute junk that is in these school lunches? We don't do it. Now, I'm not saying that makes us better than someone who does. I'm just saying we've made the decision to avoid it because when you see what's in it, it's like, what? That's what you could eat every day? I think we can do a little bit better with a home lunch. That's been our decision. That's it. Not saying it has to be yours. But I'm glad that the Make America Healthy Again movement is involved in this because nothing matters more than the well-being and health of our kids. But it also means if you feel strongly about this like I do, then go back 15 years. If you were crushing Michelle Obama for this, there's got to be a bit of a mea culpa there, is how I would frame it, John.
I think lunches have changed quite a bit since I was in school. Every once in a while, I'm getting hankering for a piece of school pizza. How do they make that? I see the recipe. I'm like, I have to try that.
Yeah, you might have to go down that road.
There are a variety of issues surrounding school lunches. This is one of them. What's in it? How much you pay for it? Who pays for it? Is anybody paying for it? Is the government counting the food that is served? That kind of thing. So it's interesting. They've got a racket about hot lunches served, but not what's in it, or you can't even get the lunch hot. Now,
well, exactly.
In the schools. I don't know.
I am with you there. I'm totally with you on that. So I see some of these things that I'm like, yeah, I mean, that just doesn't seem like a good idea.
A lot of the high schools I know of have been around for many years, so I'm sure there's ovens, through Shawnee Mission West, but I'm like the newer ones, like Blue Valley South? I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
I don't know either. On the text line.
You used to walk in going, hey, tacos today. Right? You'd smell the lunch. That was aromatherapy.
Oh man! Now John's going back down memory lane with his school lunch smells from the 1970s.
Lunchbox.
Yeah, exactly right. I had a Jurassic Park lunchbox in the 1990s, which, by the way, now is in my basement because my mother held on to it. So now my kids use it as a toy in the basement.
Dude, it's worth $50, $60, $70 probably.
You know what? I was getting a haircut yesterday. Just real quick sidebar, and my barber's big into Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was still a thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
It came back, I guess. He's telling me that he's making thousands of dollars collectively knowing what Pokemon cards to buy at a good price and then resell somewhere else. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I sold a Charizard when I was probably 11 years old in 1999. I sold it for $20. Seemed like a great deal.
Yeah.
He told me, depending on which, I don't know, brand or level of Charizard I had in the late 90s, he said right now that card's worth $8 to $9 grand. I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, that one's worth a little more than the Mickey Mantle rookie card there. Charizard, yeah.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Man, I've made some bad bets in my life. That's right up there with the worst of them. I just, oh gosh, I've been cringing about it since he told me yesterday.
Boomers, baseball cards, and bicycle spokes, brother.
On the text line, Pete, question, do kids take their lunch to school anymore? I don't see it. Well, I don't know. Anecdotally, we don't see it a lot either. Claire's one of the few, it seems like, that does it. But, every school's different, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I think kids do. What was interesting is my son never ate the meal that was served. He'd buy whatever was these extra things. So he's having pizza, and the money went faster. And I'm like, well, you're out of lunch money already? I paid last week. He wasn't even ordering the meals or taking the hot lunch.
All right, Mark, get in here. You've been very quiet. That makes me think that you're going school lunch all the way. Defend school lunch.
No, we do a mix.
Okay, blend it.
Half and half, yeah.
Depending on if you want to make it that day.
Yeah.
Who's tired, who's not.
Depending on if they like what's at the lunch.
Look at the menu.
They look at the menu.
The old look ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Manager's choice is always one where you're like,
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm with Brooke Rollins. I like what she's doing. I hope they keep going ahead with this because nothing matters more than what we are putting into our kids' bodies. And once again, none of this stuff is controversial or political, but unfortunately, everything is, I hate to say. 913-408-7957, the text line and the studio line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Some of you can't help yourself on the text line with some of these jokes, all right? I mean, you just got to knock it off. There's not a Michelle Obama joke in here. I don't care how hard you try, all right? Some of you just can't help yourselves. And no, I'm not going there. Stop trying to bait me into something I don't want to do, okay? Enough. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. Right now, we've got Tom Homan, the White House border czar, doing a press conference from Minneapolis. And he is talking about de-escalating conflicts on the streets. It's amazing. Tom Homan shows up in Minneapolis, and the whole thing just calms down. When I was saying this stuff 2 weeks ago, saying Tom Homan should have been in charge from day one, remove Kristi Noem, remove her friend, Corey Lewandowski, get him out of this. They are playing a political game. Tom Homan has forgotten more about law enforcement than Kristi Noem will ever know. And look what happens. The adult shows up and things calm down, and he knows what needs to happen on the ground and how to pull off what they're doing in Minneapolis in an effective and smart and efficient way. It's amazing how this works. When you put people in charge who actually know what they're doing, you get results. That's what we've seen over the last 2 weeks with Tom Homan. It's not a free-for-all. It's not ICE, you go do your thing, and by the way, Border Patrol, go hang out outside of the Home Depot. Good luck. I mean, shooting fish in a barrel, no pun intended, and see what you can land there. It's like, no. You got to be strategic, especially when you know you have rabble-rousers on the other side who, yes, oftentimes might be paid protesters and are trying to basically bait you into doing something stupid, doing something illegal, God forbid, and trying to make you look bad around the nation. And now look at what's gone on here. You're not hearing as much about Minneapolis, if at all. They're drawing troops back, not because they're abandoning any mission. They're just being smarter about what they're doing. So if anything big comes out of this, we'll let you know. Tom Homan right now addressing the media and addressing the nation from a podium there in Minneapolis. We'll keep you posted on what's going on there on KCMO Talk Radio.